If you're thinking about making an argument, there are a few things you should know. An argument is not how loud your voice can go, but an opinion backed up with facts. An argument is made up of two premises and a conclusion. A premise is a statement that is true or false. When making an argument, there are three different structures you can follow. The first is all P's are Q's, S is a P, therefore S is a Q. An example of this would be, all cats are cute, Rory is a cat, therefore Rory is cute. Cats would be P, cute would be Q, and Rory is S. Another structure to follow is, if P then Q, P therefore Q. An example of this would be, if you are good, you will get a cat. You have been good, therefore you will get a cat. This is known as modus ponens. The final way to form an argument is, if P then Q, not Q, therefore not P. An example of this would be, if you want a cat, you will move out. You have not moved out, therefore you will not get a cat. This is known as modus tollens. Next, you should know that there are two different kinds of arguments. The first is a deductive argument. A deductive argument is an argument that guarantees that the conclusion is true if the premises are true. If the premises are true and the conclusion is true, the argument is sound. However, if one of the premises or the conclusion is false, then the argument is unsound. The second kind of argument is an inductive argument. An inductive argument does not guarantee that the conclusion is true. Rather, you look at the evidence provided and come to your own conclusion. Based on the evidence, the argument could be strong. If the evidence provided isn't very good evidence, then the argument is considered weak. If you wish to criticize an argument, you should look for fallacies. A fallacy is a fault in an argument, making it bad. If you can identify a fallacy, then you can reject the whole argument. For deductive arguments, structure is key. Therefore, if the structure is incorrect, the argument is considered invalid. The correct structure for a deductive argument is, all P's are Q's, S is a P, therefore S is a Q. If P then Q, P, therefore Q. If P then Q, not Q, therefore not P. An example of an invalid structure for deductive argument would be, if P then Q, Q therefore P. This is referred to as affirming the consequence. Another example of an invalid structure is, if P then Q, not P therefore not Q. This is known as denying the antecedent. To prove that an inductive argument is weak, there are many fallacies to identify with. The top 6 are: problematic premise. This means that other possibilities could contradict your argument. For example, saying, today is Wednesday, but it feels like Friday. A hasty generalization is taking one experience and applying it to all possible experiences. An example of this would be saying that one cat scratched you, so all cats will scratch you. Another fallacy is ad hominem. This means to ignore the issue and attack the person. This is like saying that someone must be guilty because they look guilty. The fourth example is mere assertion. This is when there isn't enough evidence to back up the opinion. This is like saying blue is the best color because it is the color of the sky. The fifth is called begging the question. This means to repeat the solution as the conclusion. This is like saying that just because the Bible says it, it has to be true. The final fallacy is known as an unclear conclusion. This is when the argument shifts. An example of this is saying that all cats are mean, but only a certain type, even though they're nice sometimes. Now that you know how to create an argument and identify fallacies, let's look at the steps to follow when criticizing an argument. Step 1, you should ask, is it an argument? Does it have an opinion? Is it backed up with facts? Step 2 is to identify whether it is inductive or deductive. If the argument is deductive, check the structure for validity and the premises for truth. If both are valid, the argument is sound. If one or the other is invalid, the argument is unsound. If the argument is inductive, check the evidence and identify fallacies. If there are no fallacies and the evidence is good, the argument is strong. If not, the argument is weak.
created using Powtoon.